And welcome, guys. I'm so glad you jumped on tonight. My name is Kim Rankin. I am in Little Rock, Arkansas. I am an Emerald ambassador with Plexus and a nurse by trade. And nothing makes me more thrilled than to bring science and expertise into our Plexus business. And tonight I am so pleased to have a couple of guest speakers who have been willing to share their expertise and their time with us to help us understand this new market that we are going into. So before we jump in, I just want to do some housekeeping. Please be sure you mute yourselves, just so there's a lot of people. We don't want to get any feedback. And any questions you have, just put it in the chat and I will monitor and we'll ask questions when we get done with the call. So just shoot them up there and we'll try to get everything answered. So thank you for joining us tonight. We have two wonderful guest speakers. Dr. Kyle Felling, he has a PhD in pharmacy, and he is the owner of Fast Labs. They specialize in chemical analysis with an emphasis on CBD and hemp. And he is going to share with us that expertise as well as his analysis of our product. And also, I'd like to introduce Carrie Felling. Carrie is a BSN, an RN, advanced RN degree, and she is active in the Cannabis Nurses Association. And so they're both going to share their wealth of knowledge. And I've got some questions to kind of lead us off. And first of all, Carrie, let me kind of bounce it to you. Can you explain actually the plant and the derivatives that we're pulling out of the plant in terms of holistic healing?
So, like she said, I'm Carrie Felling, and my husband and I recently got into this industry, and we began our growing in knowledge on this plant. And the cannabis plant, there's different forms of it, but basically this plant is made up of chemical compounds called cannabinoids that work in our body's endocannabinoid system. And those cannabinoids have, properties that help our body's overall health. So I take CBD, say, for a dietary supplement to help my endocannabinoid system. And then the plant has flavors that are the terpenes, and these individual terpenes have characteristics or qualities that are also beneficial for our bodies.
So explain the terpenes though, because that's a hot button. And for those of us that this is just brand new, why are terpenes important and why are we extracting them?
So the cannabinoids is what CBD is, a cannabinoid, and different cannabinoids have different benefits for the body. And now the terpenes are like the flavor of the plant. So say you have apples and you have some green apples and red apples, Honeycrisp, and they all taste a little different, and the terpenes is what gives the cannabis plant its flavor. And so the terpene analysis on the Plexus CBD showed it had high myrcene, which is a very common terpene. And myrcene actually kind of helps with antidepressant qualities and also anti-inflammatory qualities. And then in the Plexus CBD that we tested, the next was pinene. And pinene is real good to kind of help with focus and your alertness. And then the third one of the Plexus CBD was caryophyllene. And that flavor is just kind of helps with pain in patients and antimicrobial qualities. So each of these terpenes have different things that they can kind of help in the body.
Okay, so help me understand, as a as a novice in this, if I'm approaching somebody and they say, well, my CBD helps with A, B, and C, what does yours help with? That's when we're looking at the different terpenes or flavors that is in the extract.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and myrcene is going to be one that's in a lot of different cannabis. It's the most common one.
Let me, can you explain what the difference is between full spectrum and the isolates? Because we are going to have both of those.
Yes,
so how do we approach that in terms of who would need what and what's the benefit of both?
Okay, so full spectrum is taking the plant and it's taken all the cannabinoids that are in that plant and left them in there, and you're getting some THC in it on the full spectrum. It is going to be less than the 0.3%, which is legal, but and that is best. Full spectrum, you know, I do see better results with people who take full spectrum. But that being said, I'm a nurse and other professions, if you are drug screened and you have THC in your system, that is not okay, and you can get fired from your job. So people, if they are concerned about THC being in their system, even though it's at a legal level, it can still get you into trouble in your work. You're going to need to go to the isolate. And what the isolate is it's taken that plant and it's went in there and it's plucked out that CBD compound alone. So you're missing about, say, 100-ish other cannabinoids that are in that plant. You're not getting those. You're only getting that one compound from the plant.
Let me ask you this as a fellow nurse. If I am drug tested, but I can show that this is the source, does that count?
Okay, so in the state of Arkansas, no. Now, the National Council of State Board of Nursing in the United States recently said cannabis is becoming legal in every state, and they're telling the facilities, unless you're seeing your employee having symptoms of being under the influence on the job, to not test people. The state of Arkansas went against that, though, and they said, hey, Arkansans, we don't care if you have a card. We don't care if it's legal. If you have THC in your blood and we test you, that is a fireable offense.
Okay, and that pretty much would go across the board with healthcare professionals, military?
Yes, and, you know, truck drivers. My son-in-law is a tow truck driver, and he will not do CBD, full spectrum CBD.
Okay, so we need to take them to the isolate option.
Exactly. The full spectrum, you know, like I said, it does have all those other cannabinoids in it that are beneficial. So if you have someone that's not going to have the risk of being drug screened, that's what you really want them to do, because they're probably going to have better results out of that.
Okay.
Full spectrum.
What, in terms of the air or the benefits that you're seeing with the use of full spectrum as well as isolates, what are the key areas, health benefits, that we can zero in on in terms of, you know, thinking about who our market is?
Well, okay, so to understand that.
You can turn it back to one if you want.
Okay.
For you.
To understand that, you have your endocannabinoid system, and if you can understand that that system is like the communication system between all your body systems, since it's reaching out and it is encompassing all your body systems, you can have multi-system benefits from using CBD. So from mental, say you want to have help with depression or anxiety, sleep, down to physical pain in your feet, say, you know, from head to toe, there's possibilities of benefits from CBD because it works with all your body systems.
How, and we all will relate to this, people look at wanting a magic pill. They think that if they take something for 2 days, then they're miraculously going to feel like they're 20 again and life is great. We know that that's not possible. But using this product, what kind of timeline do we typically see in terms of people beginning to see benefits?
It really kind of depends on each individual's body's health of their endocannabinoid system. I have some people that use CBD once and they swear by it. And then I have some people that use it for a few days and they don't have the results that I think they should probably have. A lot depends on consistency. You know, our bodies metabolize natural products a lot faster than we do, say, processed stuff, because your body knows how to take care or to utilize natural products. And this is a natural product, so your body is going to use it faster. You have to take more frequent doses and you got to be consistent with it, or you're not going to have the results that you potentially could have.
Is it something that you need to build up on? You know, a lot of our products, we kind of taper up to kind of give the body a chance to adjust. Is that something we need to do with this?
What I tell people when they start CBD is start slow and low, you know, and so you do want to use a small amount. And then if you're not getting the desired effects, then you can step up and take a little bit of a larger dose. Or if you're taking a larger dose and you want to come cut back, then they can kind of slowly cut back till you get that therapeutic dose and it's the smallest amount that's needed.
Okay, then let's talk what that small amount is. You know, we have the dropper. What is a small amount?
You know, 5, 10, 15 milligrams. So I usually have people do about a half of a dropper to a dropper 2 to 4 times a day, depending on what they're needing relief or help with. So, you know, say if it's someone needing help with sleep, you know, do a dropper full at night before you go to bed. You know, if it's someone, say, with, say, gastrointestinal problems, you know, it may take a little bit, a few times a day. So each person, it's not like a set, like in a nurse, we want this pill, take 1 pill a day and you're taken care of. Everybody kind of has to tailor it to their own needs. And
since we're dealing with the endocannabinoid system, how quickly, though I'd say it's a sleep issue, how quickly, if you take that dropper at night, would you start feeling that effect?
I have some people that tell me that they get 0 results out of it. And then I have some people who say, you know, they take it 30 minutes before bed every night and it helps them rest, you know? So again, it depends on your body's endocannabinoid system's health.
Okay, so as Plexus ambassadors, the best way we can service our customers is kind of like how we do with all the other products, is based on their chemistry. We start slow, and we see how they respond.
Exactly.
Okay. Healing benefits, we've talked about depression, we've talked about pain, we've talked about seizure, we've talked about mental wellness. Do you see one area that seems to rise above the others?
Of course, your neurological problems, diagnosis, it's helping a lot. It's showing a lot of positive help there. But it also, you know, you have your endocannabinoid system, you have receptors in your brain, in your reproductive systems. That's your CB1 receptors. And then your CB2 receptors are a lot in your immune system. So I think we'll see a lot of, help me out here. What am I term I'm thinking of? Your immune disorders, say your eczemas and stuff. Autoimmune. Thank you. I'm sorry, I could not get that out. A lot of those disorders, I think, with time, it'll show to help those.
Okay.
You know, and definitely your GI system, you know, your Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel issues, they are showing some positive steps there. I've even recently read some research that it's helping on like pancreatic function, even in your type 1 diabetics. So it's making that pancreas function better, and it's making your cells less insulin resistant. So like I said, since your endocannabinoid system works with all the body systems, there's multi-system benefits potentially can happen from the cannabis plant.
Wow. We discussed if we are in a job situation that we have to do drug testing, that is something we need to steer away from in terms of full spectrum. Mm-hmm. But the use of this product, is it safe for all populations? You know, the elderly, pregnant, you know.
It does have some interactions with some medications. If you take a medication and you've been told that you don't want to eat grapefruit or drink grapefruit juice, then that is another medication that you're not going to use CBD with, because it acts the same way. It can increase your bleeding times. So if you've got a patient that's on blood thinners, or they're taking a lot of aspirin frequently, or anti-inflammatories, you're going to be more aware of their bleeding, or you might teach them that they need to watch about their PTT levels.
Okay. So if they're on Coumadin, warfarin, guys, aspirin, are we even talking like a low dose daily aspirin of 81?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, say, this person is vegan or vegetarian and they have a high green leafy diet, vegetable diet. On top of that, there's some other factors that it can just really increase your bleeding time. And they might just be open with their physicians that, hey, I am using CBD. Unfortunately, a large percentage of our physicians and nurses, we're not aware of what cannabis does in the body, but it can increase your bleeding time. If you're taking, say, a medication for anxiety or depression, it can increase the function of those medicines. If you take medicines for high blood pressure, it can help lower that blood pressure. And like I said, diabetes, it can help that pancreas function a little bit better. So if they are taking a bunch of medications, definitely start slow, go low. I mean, start low, go slow, and just speak to your physician or your pharmacist about what you're taking.
Let me ask you this. There are several of our medications that we are sensitive to in terms of if they're taking antidepressants, if they're taking something for high blood pressure, because it can exacerbate the symptoms.
Exactly.
So we're looking at this as kind of the same category that we need to just educate and communicate in terms of what they're currently taking.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Let me give you carry a breather, and let's bounce over to Kyle.
Thank you.
Kyle, this is Dr. Kyle Felling, PhD in chemistry, kind of knows the scary stuff in terms of chemical analysis. And he was good enough to test our CBD product. But first, Kyle's gonna just be audio, but share his screen with us. But Kyle, first, can you explain to me what exactly you do at Fast Labs and how you've kind of gotten into this realm?
Yeah, I can. Can y'all hear me? Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, so Fast Labs, we started out as an environmental analysis company back in 2015. And then medical cannabis passed in Arkansas in 2016. And we started evaluating what was required to be tested of medical cannabis. And when I say medical cannabis, I'm talking about high THC, marijuana type of cannabis. And it turns out that almost everything that I had already done in my career, I could do with a cannabis plant. If you can analyze it on tomatoes, you can analyze similar things on cannabis. And so we built up our Arkansas laboratory to perform chemical analysis on cannabis. And that includes the cannabinoids and terpenes with what Carrie was talking about, along with contaminants such as pesticides and heavy metals, bacterial contamination, things that could make a sick person sicker, or an otherwise healthy person sick. You don't want any of that in the plant. As I become more educated, you'll find that I call hemp or CBD products. That's cannabis as well. They're both of the same species of plant, the cannabis species. So whenever I say cannabis, I'm meaning both marijuana and I'm meaning hemp at the same time. So we've expanded our operation from Arkansas, where we actually have 2 laboratories in Oklahoma now. One in Oklahoma City, which is where I'm calling from tonight, and one in Tulsa. And just to date, in 2019, we've analyzed close to 14,000 samples total between the three laboratories. So it's a booming business, but what we try to do, and what I try to tell people that we do, is we're helping assure that we're providing safe medicine for patients to consume. And that's kind of the goal of our laboratory here. So one type of tincture or one type of CBD product that I know Plexus doesn't sell, but if you come across the terminology you need to be aware of, is something called broad spectrum materials. And the difference between full spectrum and broad spectrum and isolate is full spectrum has a little bit of THC in it. And whenever I say a little bit, it's typically around 0.1% or less. You typically won't test positive on a drug screen on it unless you just down the whole bottle at once, but there is that chance there. Broad spectrum has all the cannabinoids in it with the exception of THC. So they've selectively removed THC out of it, and it still has a lot of the other cannabinoids in there, where isolate, like Carrie said, just has CBD alone in the product. They all have their places. Like she said, I think the full spectrum probably gives you the best results overall. It's kind of been found in a couple of research papers that you need a tiny amount of THC to activate those CB receptors in your body, that basically think of it as unlocking the key so that CBD can come in and attach. All right, not enough to get you high. You won't feel any euphoric effects from THC in those type of products, but it is enough to provide a therapeutic effect for you. So we analyzed on Plexus's product, we analyzed the tincture both for what's called potency analysis, which potency just means the cannabinoids that were present in the tincture, and we analyzed the 11 most prevalent cannabinoids that are there. Now there's hundreds that have been identified, but there's 11 that are the most common, and that's what we analyze for. And then we also analyze for terpenes, which there's almost 1,000 different terpenes out there, but we analyze for the 23 that have the most beneficial medical effects for patients. So that's kind of kind of a good background of what we do.
Now, Dr. Felling, let me ask you this. As you have been analyzing all of these amazing quantities, and congratulations on your success, that's really exciting. Are you finding that because this market has become such a hot market that, the guy on the corner that throws up a shingle, his product is not like another product? And so how can we differentiate ourselves when somebody says, like they do to us now, why buy my vitamin at Walgreens versus why they should buy it from us or a reputable?
Right.
What
Right.
should we
So
quiz
the
them on?
main thing is there are a lot of CBD products out there. You can buy them in gas stations all over the place. At least I'll say supposed CBD products you can buy in gas stations all over the place. Whenever we were getting the lab set up back in 2016, I went around to a bunch of different vape shops and gas stations and other places picking up CBD products just to test the calibrations of our machines and everything. And the first 80 or so samples that I did, I can count on one hand how many had as much CBD as was claimed on the packaging. Because, it's not something that someone can easily test for, and you can make any claim you want on a package. There's no one regulating those types of companies. So you have to kind of go by reputation of the company you're buying from. You have to go by the effect that the product has on you. But you have to be careful as well, because there are some products out there that have some nasty stuff in it. There are a few products that have K2 or spice in them, which was making people high. The problem is most people taking these products don't want to get high. Most people even taking medical cannabis don't want to get high. They want to get well. And so these people were selling it because certain people will get stuck on it, and addicted to it. And then you have problems. Now, addiction rates for cannabis are not very high. I think the addiction rate for cannabis is something like 10 to 12%, something like that. Carrie might be able to speak to that more. 6. She got it. 6%. Everything has addictions, even food.
Let me interrupt you real quick. If one of our prospective customers has an addiction gene, is this something they need to stay away from?
I don't know, because an addiction gene, that,
or are in recovery.
Right. Yeah. I would say the more knowledge I have, I would tell you that even marijuana is safer than alcohol. Now, is it
safer than Tylenol?
Yeah. Is it addictive? 6% of the time, yes. But no matter how much marijuana you take, no matter how much hemp you take, no matter how much CBD you take, there is nothing that's going to make your heart stop beating. There's nothing that's going to make your lungs stop breathing.
Okay.
Now, if you take too much high THC cannabis, yeah, you'll be climbing up the walls like Spider-Man and maybe wishing your heart would stop. But there's nothing that's going to kill you. It doesn't attack. There's no CB receptors in your brainstem, and so it's realistically a relatively safe medicine in terms of an overdose. There hasn't been one documented case of a death by overdose of THC.
Okay.
But if you're an addictive personality, you kind of need to be aware of anything you take. Whether it's Tylenol, aspirin, flavored waters. You just got to be aware of where your limitations are there.
Okay. Thank you. Can you share your screen and show us what you analyzed our products?
Right. So let me get this here. All right. So can y'all see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is our potency profile for that. I want to get it a little bit closer here, hopefully. Is that better?
Yes, great.
All right. for the tincture that Plexus sells. And what you'll find is no matter what lab does the analysis, there's going to be something similar to these results on here. And so I'm going to kind of go through the table one column at a time and explain it, and that way hopefully it'll make sense by the time you get to the end. So the first column in the table says cannabinoid, and that just tells you the specific types of cannabinoids that we analyze for. I always tell people that I analyze for 3 different flavors of CBD, 4 different flavors of THC, 2 different flavors of CBG, and so down the line. But what you find here is, just using CBD as an example, there's 3 different types of CBD that I analyze for.
Shadow, quit.
One's called CBD, one's called CBDA, and one's called CBDB. It's just 3 different chemicals. CBD is what you're looking for in the tincture here. CBDA is the form that CBD takes in the plant. So whether it's hemp or marijuana, CBDA it's basically the acidic form of CBD, and it's what exists naturally in the plant. You don't form CBD until you heat up CBDA to a temperature of around 200 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. It does what's called decarboxylates, and CBDA will spontaneously form CBD. The different forms of THC, the main one that a lot of people are worried about is this bad boy called Delta-9 THC, because that's the one that's on a Schedule 1 drug list in the United States. It's also the one that, when you're talking about medical cannabis states, that makes medical cannabis what it is. You know, it's typically large percentages or large amounts of Delta-9 THC. Now, with the passing of the 2018 Farm Bill by Congress, THC derived from hemp is no longer illegal. It's totally descheduled. You can ship it anywhere in the United States. You can ship it anywhere in the world, with one caveat: the Delta-9 THC has to be below 0.3%. And so what you see with this product here, the Delta-9 THC was 0.106% in that first column. So it's legal limit. You can easily take this anywhere and you don't run into any legal problems ever. Delta-8 THC is just a different form of THC. It's not as intoxicating as Delta-9 THC is. I like to use the word intoxicating, not psychoactive, because everything's psychoactive if it's having an effect on your body. So Delta-9 is your real intoxicating THC. Delta-8 also has some effects to it, but it's more of a body relaxation than it is going straight to your head and making you feel really euphoric inside. CBC is called cannabichromene. It's one of the higher cannabinoids that come from hemp, and it has some different effects to it, but a lot of it, I think it aids some different things that Carrie might be able to talk about or Google real quick while I'm talking. As she's smiling at me. But CBN, a good acronym for CBN is couch by night, because when you have high levels of CBN, it's what really helps with your sleep and things. And CBN typically occurs as a degradation of Delta-9 THC. So if you degrade the Delta-9 THC, it typically degrades into CBN. The second column there, I'm going to kind of talk about the second result column there. I want to kind of talk about it and the one that's past the reporting limit at the same time. So the result that's before the reporting limit says mg per g. That just means milligrams per gram of substance. The other one that says mg per ml is milligrams per milliliter of the substance. So in a tincture like this, you would be more concerned with the milligrams per milliliter column because those droppers are going to come in volumes, typically a 1 milliliter volume. So if you get a full dropper full, what you're going to get here with this tincture is about 26.5 milligrams of CBD. All right, if you do it half, you can kind of titrate it that way. So half of it would be around 13 milligrams, or a quarter would be about 7, and so forth down the line of CBD. And you can do the same thing with all the other cannabinoids there. And then the last column that says per unit, what that's talking about is how much is in that bottle that was provided. So it was a 30 milliliter bottle, and how much CBD would be in that entire bottle is 828 milligrams of CBD. Delta 9 THC, 32 milligrams would be in the entire bottle of it. So the good thing about this is on this bottle, kind of might be hard to see in that picture, but what it's advertised by Plexus as is 25 milligrams of CBD per milliliter, and it analyzed at 26.5. So Plexus isn't lying. It's there. There's actually a little bit more there than what's advertised, and that's what a lot of good manufacturers do. They typically dose just a little bit above just to make sure that all that's in there. An important thing with cannabinoids is packaging. Cannabinoids are very sensitive to UV light, whether it comes from the light fixtures in your house or the sun outside. So it needs to be in amber bottles, just like this one is here. If you see CBD in a clear bottle, just be wary of how you take care of it, because it will degrade if it's left out to light and heat.
What about heat or cold sensitivity?
Heat will degrade them, cold will not. So you wouldn't want to leave it in your car in a summer day in Arkansas, because
or an October day in Arkansas for that.
maybe even, yeah. It will affect it over time. Now, will it degrade it completely in a couple hours time? No. But if it's left there day in and day out type of things, it will affect the potency.
How long is the bottle? Does it ever expire or lose potency over time?
Well, it depends on what their base oil is. Some people use what's called MCT oil as a base, and that's called mixed chain triglycerides. Basically, coconut oil is what that is. It doesn't typically go that bad over time. However, some other people use grapeseed oil. Some people use hemp oil for it. And if they're adding other additives to it, there was a company that we analyze regularly for that adds omega-3 fatty acids to they use MCT oil as a base, but they add omega-3s to it. And over time, they kind of, it's fish oil. Over time, your oil starts getting a kind of fishy taste to it. And it'll make, she's smiling because my mother took a big swig of it one time. I was like, oh, this is bad. But, it all depends on what the additives are to the base oil that they use.
Okay, and we have it's a gentle flavor that does not change or dilute anything. It just makes it a little more palatable.
Right. The flavor just makes it more palatable.
Okay.
Straight hemp oil has I'd say a bitter taste, if I had to put a word to it. So it just kind of has a sharpness to it to me. If you add flavors, a lot of people obviously like it better when it's flavored.
Sure. So, Dr. Felling, if you were to look at this, and I will be honest with you, I struggled through chemistry. It was not my strength. This looks like a bunch of hieroglyphics to me. So down and dirty, we're coming up smelling like a rose.
Absolutely. Yes, it's everything that it was advertised to be. That's
what Plexus does. Not surprising, but boy, it's sure good to see in numbers. Albeit
right.
I'm not quite sure what they mean, but yes, that's one.
Right. The main thing that you'd want to know is that if they claim right here on this label, if they claim 25 milligrams of CBD per milliliter, you would want to look up at at this screen and look at CBD milligrams per milliliter, and that better be 25 or above.
Okay.
And it's at 26.5 now. If you wanted to know how much was in the entire bottle, you just look at what's the column that says how much is in the entire bottle.
Okay.
And like I said, most of the rest of it's gobbledygook that a lot of people don't care anything about. But the main thing is, does it have what they claim it has? And in this case, it does.
So looking at this, though, I see that the Delta 9 is within legal limits.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
And the CBN, which is like the relaxation, it's significant. So that would be our sleep aspect. Correct?
Right. Yes, that would help aid sleep.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Well, that makes me thrilled. I mean, and again, we've always been very confident with what Plexus does, but this is such a new arena for so many of us that to see the analysis, thank you so much for giving us that confidence that we have in all of our other products, but we're seeing it live here by an expert. So thank you so much for doing that.
No problem. No problem.
I'm seeing some questions quickly, so let me look at this.
Sure.
And pull this out here real quick. Okay, can we see the flavonoids that are present in the sample?
Yeah. Here's the, these aren't flavonoids, these are terpenes, but they're very closely related to each other. Terpenes, I like to tell people it's what gives cannabis the smell that it has. Different terpenes smell differently,
So
but
it's like
they also
flower.
definitely have.
Flower has a different scent, so is that the way we can look at it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I haven't scrolled down to it. This one down here called pinene here. It smells just like it sounds in the word. It's a piney type of tree, pine tree type of smell to it. Limonene is a more citrusy type of smell, just like the name implies. It's kind of a lime type of smell to it. Almost everybody knows what eucalyptus smells like. That's where eucalyptol comes from here. Linalool is like a lavender type of flower type of smell to it. And I was trying to see if there's any other ones that are common. Campine, a lot of people know about camphors and camphorphenique, things like that. That's got high levels of campine in there. The main thing is terpenes really have a great effect on the body with relatively small amounts of dosages. So when we're talking about the CBD, things like that, when you look at it in the plant form, those are typically present in percentages of 5, 10, upwards of 20% CBD. And hemp, we're looking at terpenes here, where if you're up in the percentages of terpenes, high percentages, it would be kind of overwhelming to you. You can really have a positive effect from these at very low percentages. So when you look at here, like campine at 0.05% or curine at 0.25%, these are all, it might not sound like there's a lot there, but they do have a positive effect on the body. Myrcene and caryophyllene, these are the two most common in all cannabis plants. Myrcene is actually what police officers train their dogs to smell for when they're detecting marijuana. It's not THC they're smelling. It's not plants they're smelling. It's actually this terpene that they're smelling that allows them to pinpoint where that plant is in a vehicle or wherever else they're searching. But it's, like I said, also the most common, one of the most common terpenes out there.
So Kyle, there's 23 that are tested terpenes, correct?
Yes.
Does it depend upon the grower where they they grow certain plants that have particular terpenes, or do all plants have the same terpenes and we just extract out particular ones?
Well, I'll say almost every cannabis plant has myrcene and caryophyllene in it. And then it's different from there, but they all have different distributions of them. So one plant might be high in caryophyllene, the other one might be high in myrcene. Other plants might be low in both of those, even though they're present, but high in limonene. It's what makes what we call plant cultivars what they are. They're also called plant strains. Okay, so if anyone's ever knows anything about marijuana, if you go to a dispensary, or if you go to a guy in a back alley, he's going to be like, I've got this sour diesel marijuana strain for you. I've got this blue dream marijuana strain for you. Well, what makes each of these strains, give them their names, is what's called the terpene profile in them. They all have specific smells. They all have specific effects on you. And it comes from the terpenes. The terpenes, and this is just my opinion, terpenes are more medicinal than THC or CBD are, period. Because in such small doses, they can have such a large effect on you.
And based on the individual person's chemistry.
Right, based on the individual person's chemistry. But this is why a lot of people advocate for full spectrum materials, is there's this thing called an entourage effect. That basically, if you have an entourage, it means you got all this stuff around you, right? So the entourage effect is just kind of a thing that a lot of people can't explain, but terpenes and all the cannabinoids in a plant, they work really well together, coming from the same plant that they were grown from. You can't individually pluck out CBD and expect it to work as well as when it's with its counterparts. Just like you couldn't pluck out myrcene and expect it to work just as well without all these others working in conjunction. So it's kind of like God's plan, a God's plan type of thing. Of He made all this stuff to work together just right for us, so that we can get the effects that we desire from it.
Well, and I will say that, our Plexus group of products synergistically all work beautifully together. And this just is another element that we have not tapped into in terms of natural or plant-based. Body can understand what to do with plants to use in terms of healing and medicinal purposes.
Right.
There is another question. Let me throw this out. If you have clotting issues, factor 9 deficiency, is this a problem to use?
I'll let Carrie answer that one.
You what?
I'm gonna let Carrie answer
Okay,
that.
all right.
I would definitely speak to your doctor about that, because it can increase your INR, and that will increase your PT and PT. So I wouldn't use it until I spoke to my physician.
Thanks. How would you two, after seeing this analysis and knowing what's on the market now, how would you recommend or suggest we differentiate ourselves from the guy at the grocery store?
Hello.
Show your testing results. In all seriousness, a lot of those from gas stations and things like that, they haven't ever touched a testing lab.
Okay.
Now, they might have made it perfectly fine. You never know. But if they can't produce it, the testing results, even on their website, I'm not saying they have to carry around a paper copy of it everywhere they go, but a lot of reputable CBD companies nowadays are putting a QR code on their label that when you scan it with your phone, it takes you right to the testing results for that material, for that specific batch, for that specific lot of it. And if you're not doing it on a batch level basis, then you're not certain that you're reproducing it correctly every time that it's there. It's easy for humans to make mistakes. So make sure that as a company, you know, that you're getting what's called batch level testing done, that you're making those results available to customers. And I'm sure Plexus will, you know, will get that done if they haven't already.
What kind of price range do you see across the market in terms of this size bottle?
Anywhere from $35 to $60 or $70, depending upon the company. The price, and it also depends on if it's full spectrum or isolate or broad spectrum. Broad spectrum tends to be the most expensive because it undergoes the most processing to selectively remove the THC out of the material. Full spectrum is the next most expensive for some reason because it requires the least amount of processing. I don't know why it's the next most expensive. Isolate is the least expensive typically, but maybe because it's just isolate, and you can get a hold, with the influx of hemp in the past few years, you can get a hold of CBD isolate relatively cheap nowadays.
Do you find that price represents quality? And we, you know, in our business, we, you know, I'm sure many of you have, you know, well, I can buy my vitamin at Walmart for $100 for $5. Why should I spend $25 for yours? Is it industry wise? Are you seeing the more expensive represent quality?
Not in this industry, no. Unfortunately, in this industry, there's a lot of greedy people. And there's a lot of shady people in this industry that are looking to take you for your money. So that's why I said it comes down to your reputation as a company. It comes down to doing the right things and making sure you're providing a quality product to your customers. So unfortunately, in an industry that has the background that this industry does, that's where you fall in this area.
Okay, thank you. Wow. Never had any idea, and boy, you so explained it beautifully in terms of us being able to understand it, and we're far from experts, but you all have equipped us with some incredible information. Does anybody have any lasting questions that you want to throw up in, you want to put up in the chat that I can ask either Carrie or Dr. Felling? That's a sure sign that you all covered everything and above. One question I do have is, I know for application, we are to put it under our tongue. Can you explain why and how long we should recommend holding it under our tongue?
I'll let Carrie answer that
one. You just have more blood vessels under your tongue. So like if you have and if you have a diabetic that's needing sugar quickly, you know, you can have them hold sugar under their tongue and that's absorbed quicker there. So if you can hold it under your tongue 15, 20 seconds, you know, that's sufficient, and then swallow it down. Another thing I wanted to kind of say about the isolate is CBD isolate, you may have to use higher doses than with the full spectrum. So just keep that in your memory bank that it does require a little bit higher doses.
Okay. There is a question, would a doctor's prescription for CBD oil affect positive drug testing outcome? Meaning just like, you know, if we tested for opiates but we brought in a script.
So doctors don't write prescriptions for CBD. You know, that's just something you can buy through Plexus or even at gas stations, but please don't buy gas station CBD products. But physicians, when they write what's called a recommendation for patients to consume medical cannabis, they're not saying, okay, Gail Felling can have medical cannabis and she's going to get, 3 marijuana cigarettes a day. It's not like that. It's just saying that this patient has this qualifying condition that the state has allowed cannabis to be used. So once that doctor just says, yes, that person has that, it's not a prescription like what we would get for high blood pressure or pain pills or anything like that.
What would you say, because we as Plexus ambassadors hold our reputation and our product quality at a very high bar. With this new market for us, who would you say are our competitors, if you would, in terms of quality that we should key into?
Kyle, what do you think?
There's a lot of competition out there.
Okay.
I mean, again, in a very young industry, there's a lot of companies jumping in to reap the rewards of it. Just in Oklahoma alone, we do business with probably 2 of the larger CBD manufacturers in the United States, and one of them's called CBD Plus, and the other one's called Pure Cannaceutical, or Cantech Labs. So there's a lot of competition out there. You do have to set yourself apart in terms of quality and pricing, things like that, making sure you're staying on the right side of the truth with things. But those things will start kind of shaking themselves out as the industry matures more. There is one form of CBD you can get a prescription for. It's from GW Pharmaceuticals, and it's called Epidiolex. But the main thing to know about that is it's the same as any other tincture or CBD product you can get at any health food store nowadays, or gas stations, vape stores, things like that. They've somehow been able to get a pharmaceutical patent on something grown from a plant.
Well, Plexus, we have been told to expect this to roll out this fall, and what Plexus does and what they have reiterated is that we operate in the center of integrity and ethics and morals, and not on the sidelines. And so since there are regulations based on our business model, they are working through regulations, because we're not going to bend the rules to, try to hit this and make the most bang for our buck. We're going to do it right. And so that makes me feel good as a company, because we know that that's how Plexus operates, which is on the center of the field, not on the sidelines.
Yes.
So this is to have this information in our hands before actually our customers can get it in our hands is so helpful to us. And I cannot thank you two enough for lending not only your time, but your amazing expertise in helping us understand this amazing opportunity that's in front of us, and how we can just add this to our mixture of being able to help so many people in a holistic and plant-based way. So Carrie and Kyle, thank you so much for all of us. We have recorded this because I know there are many teams that want to tap into your expertise. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.